Hello and welcome to my Yugioh channel. Today we've got some good news coming from the UK. As you are aware, with the US, at the moment they are opening up return of formal play, and now we're getting news that the UK is hopefully doing the same. It says that new playmats, new mouse pads and new field centres are confirmed, and it says, "Good afternoon all. We are pleased to announce the formal return of sanctioned play in the official Tournament Store OTS programme. Please read this carefully and fully. Please note instructions from your local authority will always supersede these rules. Government advice and guidance may change, and if this occurs, we will keep you informed and up to date." Since April 2020, we have continuously monitored developments related to the COVID-19 pandemic. We have closely evaluated and heeded the recommendations of government health authorities and experts. We take seriously our role in contributing to the overall health and safety of our colleagues, official tournament store owners and staff, and the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG fan base. Jointly, we share a responsibility to prevent community spread of this virus by practicing social distancing, and we appreciate everyone's cooperation during this time of uncertainty. We are formally confirming the return of in-store sanctioned events from Monday, July the 19th. It is vital that you check the latest updates from your local authority for guidelines and limitations in place. For example, in England, there will be no limitations on indoor gatherings, whereas in Scotland, there is an indoor gathering limit of 10 persons from no more than 4 households. We require that all safety measures are in place as a required minimum in order to host events. Any additional measures to ensure safety are at your discretion and will be supported by us. Failure to comply with government guidelines may result in the immediate removal from the OTS programme of the OTS in question. In further news, we are thrilled to announce the return of the Back to Duel leagues. Starting with Season 1, Month 1, OTS may host leagues on a monthly basis starting from August 1st. We hope this information is well received and is a positive step in the right direction to safely host in-store events again. We look forward to offering you more and more events and rewards in the near future. We are aware that the rules in England will not enforce mask wearing indoors. However, the government advice is for businesses to make their own decisions on mask wearing, and the WHO are recommending the continued use of masks indoors for the foreseeable future. If you decide for the safety of your community to continue wearing masks in play spaces, we recommend informing your community early and often. Okay, so for my take on this, I am a UK citizen. I am actually from England, so I can tell you from my point of view what it's like here in the UK and what a mess this is going to be for them opening up. As you might not know, if you're not from the UK, we're having from Monday, July 19th, it's dubbed Freedom Day, which basically means all social distancing, any mask requirements, everything that we've not been able to do for the last 16 or so months, it's completely off the board, off the table. You can do exactly what you want, and there are no limitations to it. Now, within that, there are certain caveats. As I've already explained and has mentioned here, that Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland as well have different roles and different procedures. And that means that if you're going there, you do have to have your wits about you. You need to be knowledgeable about those situations. Less so Northern Ireland, because I doubt you're really going to be going, over the border by plane there. But more so because the rules between Carlisle, which is like the edge of England, and the borderline between them and Scotland could be completely different. So you could be on a train going, from there across the border and at a point be expected to wear masks. Same happens with Wales. If you're going across the border, you're then asked to wear masks. And even within England, it's a bit of a mess. We have regional issues here as well. So, for example, the London Mayor Sadiq Khan has been mentioning that he wants TfL to enforce mask wearing on their trains. So as you're starting to head into London from the overground national network, so as soon as you're starting to hit into London, you're then going to be asked to wear masks, whereas within the other regions of England, you're not going to. Same, I think, is happening with certain regions within the area as well. I think Manchester is London and Manchester, so you've got Andy Burnham, who's a Labour supporter as well. He is also trying to force Manchester to become a mask-wearing environment, so the trains going to Manchester are going to demand the same. It becomes a massive mess. It's just so difficult. For my default setting, I think you're basically going to have to wear masks whenever you're going to enter in a physical store, because that way at least you're not going to have any confrontation with any of the people, any of the security or any of the staff. If your default setting is that way, you're going to have no confrontation. Whereas if your default setting is, I will only do that when I'm asked to, might end up with you getting, challenged by people, and it becomes a bit more difficult. Better to be safe than sorry, especially when, some of the security could be like 6 foot tall or just be particularly aggressive on that day. You never know what type of situation they're kind of working in. It's advisable just to follow what those OTS stores are doing. You can actually do so within the official website. If they've got partnership with Konami, then they'll be registered and then they'll have their information. Or even if they don't, just by default, just wear a mask. It's just easier. The virus is actually getting much worse in the UK, so I'm guessing that these events might not even hold true for that long. You might get them for maybe a month before we end up within another remote dueling situation. I've seen within recent news reports that government scientists are saying potentially we might not see the break in our spike, the point at where it reaches its highest, until August/September time, in which case we had a repeat of this last year. Basically what happened is we got the release of lockdown, I think around June, summertime. So this is only a few weeks, behind that from last year in comparison. And then we went back into a lockdown, I think August/September time. And then we ended up having this stupid tier system where, some areas were tier 1, where there were the lowest tiers. And then we had regions that were put into tier 4, where, there were highest tiers and you had the least freedoms. We might end up in that system, or we might just go into a national lockdown again. And by national, I refer to England as a nation, because I can't speak for Wales or Scotland or Northern Ireland. They will do their own things and make their own decisions and chart their own pathway. But knowing our luck, we're going to go into a 4th lockdown, in which case you're not going to see much play. You're going to see maybe a month, and then we're not going to see this. I don't necessarily think this is a good idea. Freedom Day is people going mad, and I've heard the news, you've got 2 completely different schools of thought. You've got the extreme left, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to behave myself, I'm not going out of my house. And then you've got the extreme people on the other side, who are just going to be like, I don't care anymore, I'm sick and tired of this, and I will do exactly what I want, even if they arrest me. You don't really have a middle ground in this country. Even the sane middle ground tends to be quite silent or very quiet, because they don't want the extremes on either side pouncing on them. They like to kind of keep themselves in that sweet spot where they're protecting themselves. So what do you guys think of the reintroduction of these matches? Are you a UK resident? Are you concerned about this, or are you going to go ahead with these? Whatever you think, leave those comments down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content.